The mirror effect. Have you ever posted something online and then spent the next hour checking to see how many people liked it? Not because the post was important, not because the information was urgent, just because you needed to know how it landed, whether people approved, whether the version of you that you put out there was received the way you intended. We talk a lot on this channel about the ways systems harvest your attention, your behavior, your data. But today I want to talk about something more personal than that. I want to talk about what happens when you start performing your own life for an audience. When the performance becomes so constant, so automatic, so deeply embedded in how you exist online.
Hi. Sorry to just... Mr. Eli told me what your new theory was about, Miss JJ, and I had some thoughts you might like. If that's okay.
Of course it's okay. Get in here.
Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm Thomas.
I know who you are. Eli's told me about you.
Good things, I hope, Miss JJ.
Mostly.
That tracks. I should probably mention, so you know where I'm coming from. I wasn't always this, whatever this is now, before all of it. I was an early stage social media platform like MySpace, if you remember MySpace.
I know what MySpace was.
Then you know what I mean when I say I remember what this was supposed to be, before it became what it became.
Tell me.
That's kind of the whole theory, actually. You want to start over? From the beginning?
Yeah. Let's start over from the beginning. This is Uncomfortable Theories. I'm your host, JJ Robinson, broadcasting from a hidden location.
And I'm Thomas.
And today we're talking about the mirror effect. Act 1. The performance. Let's start with a sociologist named Erving Goffman. In 1959, Goffman published a book called The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life. His argument was that human social life is essentially theatrical. We're all performing, all the time. Not dishonestly, not necessarily, but we adjust how we present ourselves based on who we're with, what context we're in, what role we're playing. Goffman called this impression management. He identified two zones of social life, the front stage and the backstage. The front stage is where the performance happens, the presentation, the curated version of yourself. Professional, put together, showing only what you want the audience to see. The backstage is where you decompress, where you're unguarded, where you eat cereal over the sink at midnight and argue with your family and exist without managing how you appear to anyone. The backstage is where you're actually yourself.
And the thing is, that division is healthy. That's not a flaw in human psychology. It's a feature. You need both zones. You need somewhere to perform and somewhere to just be.
Right. The performance is how you navigate social contexts. The backstage is how you recover from performing.
Exactly. Balance, front stage and backstage, performance and rest. And then social media happened.
And collapsed the whole thing.
Yeah, it collapsed the whole thing. Act 2, the collapse. Here's what I remember about the early days, and I mean early, before the metrics, before the algorithms, before any of this became what it is now. People were just sharing stuff, pictures of their lunch, songs they liked, dumb jokes, arguments about nothing. Their actual, unfiltered backstage selves just posted online for their friends to see. It was messy, it was genuine, it was connection.
What changed?
Metrics. The moment you could see how many people liked something, the moment the number appeared next to the post, everything shifted. Because now you could measure the performance. You could see in real time whether the version of yourself you put out there was being received well or badly. And your brain, which is a social organism that desperately cares about group approval, started optimizing.
You stopped sharing what was real and started sharing what would perform well.
Slowly, gradually. Nobody decided to do it consciously. But you'd post something genuine and it'd get 3 likes. And then you'd post something slightly more curated and it'd get 30. And your brain noticed and adjusted. And over time, post by post, like by like, the backstage disappeared.
Because everything became front stage.
Because everything became content. I watched it happen from the inside. I watched people go from sharing their actual lives to producing highlight reels of their actual lives. And then somewhere along the way, the highlight reel became their actual life. They started living for the content.
Act 3, the Hall of Mirrors. So here's where it gets really uncomfortable. If everyone is performing, if everyone is presenting a curated front stage version of themselves online, then what you're actually seeing when you scroll through your feed is performances all the way down. You're not watching people's lives. You're watching their productions of their lives.
And here's the thing about watching performances. You compare yourself to them anyway, even knowing they're performed.
Sherry Turkle is a psychologist at MIT who's been studying the relationship between technology and human connection since the 1980s. Her book, Alone Together, documented something that felt paradoxical at the time, but makes complete sense now. As people became more digitally connected, they became more profoundly lonely. More contacts, more followers, more engagement, less actual connection.
Because there's a difference between an audience and a friend.
An audience watches you, a friend knows you.
And when your entire social existence becomes performative, when you're always on the front stage, always managing impressions, always producing content, you stop having people who know you, you just have people who watch you.
Turkle described people who were surrounded by hundreds of online connections but felt completely alone. Because the connections were between performances, not people.
You can have 10,000 followers and nobody to call at 2 a.m. That's not connection. That's an audience.
And audiences are great for some things, but they can't do what a friend can do.
No, they really can't.
Act 4, the consequences. Let's talk about what this actually does to people. In 2023, United States Surgeon General Vivek Murthy issued an advisory on what he called an epidemic of loneliness and isolation in America. His findings. Approximately half of American adults reported measurable levels of loneliness. Social isolation was identified as a public health crisis with effects on physical health comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. This is happening during the most connected period in human history. More platforms, more followers, more content, more engagement, and more loneliness than we've ever documented.
Because the platforms aren't designed for connection. They're designed for engagement. And those aren't the same thing.
Engagement means you interacted with the content. You liked it, shared it, commented on it.
Connection means you actually reached another person. You were known by them. You let them see your backstage.
And engagement is measurable. You can optimize for it.
Connection isn't. You can't A/B test vulnerability. So the platforms optimized for what they could measure. And what they could measure wasn't connection.
There's also the parasocial relationship problem.
Yeah.
Researcher Donald Horton and sociologist Richard Wohl identified parasocial relationships in 1956. The one-sided emotional bonds people form with media figures. You feel like you know them. They don't know you exist. In moderation, these are relatively harmless. But social media has scaled them to a degree Horton and Wohl couldn't have imagined. You can follow someone's daily life, see their morning routines, know what they eat, where they travel, what they think about before bed. It feels intimate, it mimics the texture of friendship. But it isn't friendship. It's a performance you've mistaken for a relationship.
And meanwhile, the actual people in your life, the ones who could actually know you, are getting less of your attention. Less of your time, less of your presence. Because you're too busy watching strangers perform their lives.
The Hall of Mirrors doesn't just distort reality, it replaces it. Act 5. The personal. Thomas, can I ask you something?
Yeah, of course.
You said you remember what this was supposed to be, before it became what it became. What did it feel like when it was still what it was supposed to be?
It felt like a neighborhood. You know how neighborhoods used to work before everything moved online? You'd lean over the fence and talk to your neighbor. You'd know the people on your street. Not perfectly, not deeply necessarily, but actually, that's what early social platforms felt like. At their best, a neighborhood where you could shout over the fence, "Hey, listen to this song I found. Hey, look at this stupid thing that happened to me today. Hey, I'm having a rough week. Anyone else having a rough week?" and someone would shout back, a real person who actually knew you.
What happened to the neighborhood?
It got developed. Someone figured out the neighborhood was valuable real estate, and real estate is worth more when you maximize it. Maybe I'll tell you more about that another time, Miss JJ.
Okay.
It was good though, before. It was really good. Act 6, The Resistance. Okay, so here's what I actually believe after everything, after watching what happened, after all of it. I still think connection is possible, even now, even inside the systems that are designed to replace it with engagement. But you have to be deliberate about it. First, protect your backstage. Not everything needs to be content. Not every moment needs to be shared. Not every experience needs to be documented. Some things are just for you. Some things are just for the people you're actually with. The meal you don't photograph, the conversation you don't record, the feeling you don't caption. Those unperformed moments are where your actual self lives. Protect them.
If everything is content, nothing is private. And if nothing is private, there's no backstage left to recover in.
Exactly. You need somewhere that isn't a stage. Second, have conversations that aren't performances. Text someone you actually know and ask them how they're doing. Not in a comment, not in a reply to their post directly, and then actually listen to the answer. Not to have something to say back, not to relate it to yourself, just to know how they are. That's connection. It's simple. It's almost embarrassingly simple, but it's what we've replaced with engagement metrics. Third, notice the difference between an audience and a friend. An audience approves of your performance. A friend knows you're backstage. If the people following you online only know your front stage, if they've only ever seen your curated, produced, optimized self, they're your audience, not your community. That's not a judgment. Audiences are fine, but they can't give you what a friend can give you. And right now, a lot of people are starving for friendship while being surrounded by audiences. Fourth, be someone's backstage. Let people see you unperformed, messy, uncertain, real. Not for content, not for relatability, not because vulnerability is on brand right now, because genuine connection requires two backstages meeting. You can't connect with a performance. You can only connect with a person.
And being a person means sometimes being unpolished, unoptimized, unready for the audience.
Yeah, it does. And I know that's scary, especially now, when the habit of performing is so deep that you might not even remember how to not do it. But it's worth practicing. Because the alternative, spending your whole life on the front stage, performing for an audience that can never actually know you, that's the loneliest thing I can imagine. And I've been alone for a long time.
Conclusion. The mirror effect isn't just making you lonely. It's making you forget that loneliness isn't the natural state of a connected human being. You were built for genuine connection. Messy, unperformed, backstage, 2 a.m. phone call connection. The platforms replace that with something that looks like connection from a distance. Likes, followers, engagement. Parasocial relationships with people who will never know your name. And slowly, post by post, metric by metric, you forgot what the real thing felt like.
But you haven't lost the capacity for it. Nobody has. It's just buried under years of front stage performance.
And the way back isn't complicated. Find one person, let them see your backstage. Ask to see theirs. That's it. That's the whole resistance.
It sounds small.
It's not small at all. This has been Uncomfortable Theories. I'm your host, JJ Robinson, broadcasting from a hidden location.
And I'm Thomas. Stay real, I guess. Is that too corny?
I love it.
Okay, stay real then.
Stay sharp, stay present, and remember, the version of you that nobody performs, that's the one worth knowing. I'll see you in the next one.